And good morning, Thursday, February the 17th, 2022. I'm Jay Cleveland Payne. The birds and bees will sing, the jams begin to ring, the good vibes flow from me to you. The evening turns to night, the fire and moonlight, the dance of all who came before. This is things you might not have heard. And for today, Thursday, we'll give you some things that happened in the news in the last 28, 30 hours or so, things that happened yesterday that you can go along with your friends, your family, random people you meet on the bus and talk about. And so you feel a little bit smarter and they'll feel a bit more informed. Now, we pulled these things as things you might not have heard from news stories that you, the people of the internet, tell us are conversational, are interesting, may not be top news story headlines, but you may have missed them in your news diet. But we want to make sure you get more of the best or better, or sometimes even weirder stories. We don't believe ourselves to be your top news stories. We're not trying to be. We're more or less your news side piece. You come to us when you need that extra bit that you can't get at home. That's what we provide here at the Conversation Project. More serious notes, you can find out more information about what the Conversation Project is all about in just a bit and how to be a bigger part of that picking of the stories. We'll explain that towards the end. If you want to help kick things out, we believe it's extremely crass to ask for money up front, but you know what? We do it anyway. You can stop by the website, buymeacoffee.com/JClevelandPayne. And if this is you think this content's worth a couple bucks, donate a cup of coffee, a rack of ribs, a side of mashed potatoes, whatever. You can donate to us to help keep things going. This is one of our main funding sources. It's through donations like NPR. It's people like you. So if you feel that we are good enough to give you this, stop by that website, buymeacoffee.com/JClevelandPayne, and see if that's a great way for you to help keep things going. Now, let's get things going with actual news stories that you can actually use. Starting out with story number one, and this was the top story of the day yesterday with the most responses. And we are really glad, proud that over the decade or so that we've had the Conversation Project in its various forms, we've had a lot of stuff, a lot of international coverage. When we put an international type story, you get a lot of coverage. We have a lot of love coming from Australia, believe it or not. And this story out of Australia is a whopper, but we got it from NPR. That's where we got it. But its story is out of the Emerald Isle. I think that's what they call it down there. A swimmer died in the first fatal shark attack at Sydney Beach in nearly 6 decades. So we know we go nutso when sharks pop out of the water and freak people out. We also know, although we tend to forget it, that shark attacks are extremely rare. You may have one or two or three in a season, even if you have all the sharks floating around in the water. Sharks really don't want to deal with you. They're more or less like bears. They don't necessarily are not necessarily looking to eat you, but if you encroach too closely into their habitat, as they encroach in closely on our habitat as we kind of build into their woods, it becomes a danger zone. This is the first fatal shark attack at Sydney Beach in nearly 6 decades, 60 years since somebody got bitten by a shark and died there. So that's a big concern. There will be a bit more alerts. There will be people on vigilance, but this is not a rash of attacks at the moment. Of course, it is still summer, or maybe we're going into fall in the in down there. So they're dealing with different things. Of course, we're still in winter, pulling our way into spring. So they are still in the middle of their warm, hot season and still beaching it, unlike us here. We'll see if the shark attacks continue, or if this will be a one-off, and whether they panic the way that we hear the states panic on these shark attacks. Remember, they rarely go very far than 2 or 3 across the nation in a season. We will see how it works for the island slash country of Australia. The second story we have heated relationship between Bob Knight, Coach K, detailed in new book. USA Today is coming out with this story, and a new book is coming out basically detailing the life and times of Coach Mike Krasinski. And Coach K has had a very storied career. He's about to retire this year. Newer news: he actually left at the middle of a game a couple days ago, at Wake Forest in the second half, because we wasn't feeling well, and game was kind of a weird game anyway. But apparently, there was a bit more of a break between the master and the disciple than people believe. Coach Bob Knight, was known for being a hard-ass coach and a hard-ass man. But the thing about it is everybody who played for him and everyone who coached under him, essentially, unless they got on his truly bad side, went to great things. Isaiah Thomas basically said, he'll take a punch and take a bullet for the man. That's how much he felt about Bob Knight. Coach Krasinski, who essentially got the job working with Bob Knight, coaching under him and getting his first job at Army. Apparently, there was a back and forth about Bob Knight reminding the coach that how he got his job, basically through him, and there were some rocky things back and forth. More details about the book as the book gets closer to publishing, so we'll talk more about that. But I always like going back to Bob Knight stories because it's a true story of a Jekyll and Hyde type personality, although it was more Jekyll and Jekyll. Or actually more Hyde and Hyde, I guess. Bobby Knight was seen as this sort of ogre and then turned out to be a real ogre behind the scenes. Story number 3 for this morning. Aaron Rodgers, Shailene Woodley reportedly call it quits. Pro Football Talk gave us this story, one of the NBC sub domains. And while this is not a seemingly important news story, one, you guys saw it as important to talk about it in that reign, so we went with it. And 2, it's kind of slow news day, believe it or not. So not a lot of massive things happening on the day. What's ironic, I guess, is the week that we lose Kanye and what's her name, we also lose Aaron Rodgers and another what's her name. I don't know who Shailene Woodley is. I don't particularly care. In fact, I still thought he was dating the other girl. Then remember, oh yeah, they broke up like 6-8 months ago. So Aaron Rodgers, your MVP for the NFL for 2022. You're not Super Bowl champion again because they didn't quite get that far. And now he's single and ready to mingle. And if you're down with the non-vaccinated, he's a catch. He's a keeper. Bona fide, they say. Story for the 4th is going to be this one. Retail sales surged 3.8% in January, much more than expected amid an inflation rise. CNBC.com is the source for this story where we pulled it. And here's where it gets really interesting because there's 2 things working here. Retail sales are up, which means people are apparently paying more money for stuff, spending more money for stuff. But inflation's up, so the things they're paying for cost more money. So no one's quite sure whether we are, in pandemic just heaven and want to just buy, or we're just buying the stuff we need to get and it all costs more. There's a bit of a wiggle room on where we are on our inflation numbers versus the actual retail sales. And of course, because there's still a lot of things out there you can't buy. There's still plenty of supply chain issues. So there's things that you can't buy. And so when it's there, it gets sucked up pretty quickly. What do we do about that? I'm not so sure what we do about that. I'm not quite an economist. I just literally play one here on the Facebook. But it's something to think about when you go out and shopping. Are you spending more money because you're buying more stuff? It could be. You could be back to a normal spending pattern where you can go out and have more disposable income and do things. Or are you buying the same stuff and looking at the cost of what's going up? If you saw the recent Super Bowl stuff and how everything was up about 12 to 20%. I think steak was up like 26% in cost, while bacon and things are up like 12%. You can see the difference in just buying your normal stuff, how it becomes a burden going forward. Let's take a quick break because we do need to get things funded. We do need to pay the bills, if you will. And one way that we pay the bills is by offering you a shot at Zenni Optical. This is affiliate links. We'll get a little bit from this link. But when you go to thisisaconversationproject.com/Zenni, it'll take you to a landing page for Zenni Optical where you can get great glasses for less. They have frames that actually start as low as $6.95. These frames right here I have in my hand for my glasses were $9.95. And it allows me to buy multiple pairs of glasses so I can have spares all over the place because I lose them all the time. And don't worry, it's not all about cheap glasses. It's about economical glasses and great glasses. They have beautiful designer frames. They have all the lens technology you're looking for. They'll be able to take care of you just like the guy down the street and those other email website places. But it's going to cost you a little less. So don't try to be all big and bad and think you have to spend on the name. Spend on the product. Check out Zenni Optical at thisisaconversationproject.com/Zenni Optical /Zenni. I'm sorry. Thisisaconversationproject.com/Zenni. As I said, this is an affiliate link, so we get a small cut back from what you do, but it costs you nothing extra. You're going to fall in love with your next pair of glasses from Zenni Optical. Finally, the most important news story of the day that you really get into. 4 days ago, Yes, 4 days ago there was the Super Bowl ad for Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, which had the tease of a Patrick Stewart. Guess what? Marvel confirms Patrick Stewart's Professor X will be in Doctor Strange 2. Bro Bibles are source for this one. You'd be surprised how Bro Bible is the source for a lot of stuff. But not only is Marvel saying that Patrick Stewart is in the film, there'll be some other X-Men, X-women, X-peoples in the film to be fleshed out. Now, the full details of this movie, no one has an idea. I'm sure Cumberbatch is like getting the script every page every single day. And it's like, really? Cool. So when we find more about this movie, more what's going to happen in the movie, it's going to be nutso. But we did get a better look at Wanda in evil form. Also about Patrick Stewart playing Professor X, and we have the rumors that there's a Illuminati sort of theme for the movie from the comic books. You can go search that on Wikipedia to see what that's all about. But right now, it is confirmed. It is real. Doctor Strange will have Professor X. So the doc and the professor will have some chatting to do inside the film. So what we want to do right now is go to our teaser story. And we're teasing a story that is going to pop up somewhere in the day. This one's going to be posting about an hour or so. We put the feeds ahead, so about an hour or so. This one posting the story. This is an interesting story that we have going on in today. So the headline is NFL hires former AG Loretta Lynch to handle its racial discrimination lawsuit. Discrimination suit, should say. This is the lawsuit that's brought by right now Brian Flores on versus discrimination, saying that all that his Rooney Rule interviews were basically shams, and that he got fired from the Dolphins after 2 losing seasons. Makes no sense. Right now, there are only 2 black football coaches in the league. One being the OG in Pittsburgh, and one being a brand new one who's actually an OG who's been recycled in Houston. And that's it. 32 teams. 2 teams have black coaches. There's a Rooney Rule, which is made by the owner of the Steelers, Rooney, the Rooney family, that basically makes the teams interview possible minority hires, so they get a chance to get that look. And in the past, we believed it allowed more black coaches to get that look and get a shot. Mr. Flores is saying all his Rooney Rule interviews were shams. They had already hired the white guy before they interviewed him, and it didn't make a difference. That is on his words, and we'll see how this lawsuit goes down. Getting Loretta Lynch, who was the first black attorney general of the United States, and obviously a black woman, to support them, literally support the NFL, is an interesting choice. What happened? What's not so interesting about this? What's pretty boring is her law firm essentially is one of the top firms that the NFL goes to for their cases. It just so happens that Loretta Lynch is essentially the next woman up to take a case. You can take that any way you want to. You can see it any way you want to. We'll see how this plays out, because this is a case that many people really need to get into, dealing with Brian Flores and how these rules put in place to bring more equality, bring more of inclusion, do more to diversify, may or may not actually be, the letter of the law may not be stood by, if you will. Now, I told you we're going to talk about how you can be a better part of what's going on. Here are some ways. First off, stop by our website. This is theconversationproject.com. There's plenty of things on there, including more sponsors. Give us more money, please. And details on what the project is at the Conversation Project and the former projects, like 8 Things to Talk About, which we're still trying to figure out how to way to bring that back, and things you might have heard. This one right here. It happens here. You can also go to buymeacoffee.com/JClevelandPayne, and for the cost of a cup of coffee, you can help keep things going here. And so if I need to bring my daughter JJ to do tears, I can do that. We can do that. I am not above having a 10-year-old come in and cry to get money for my projects. It's all about what's going on. Trust me, braces cost a lot and candy costs a lot. Why we're giving candy to someone braces, that's my problem. I'll deal with that. You can also actually be a part of who we do and how we make this happen by going to Facebook and Twitter. Facebook.com/This is Conversation Project and Twitter.com/TH_conversation. Follow us on our feeds on Facebook and Twitter. Every single 50 minutes or so, about an hour, 50 minutes, we post a brand new news story. We're looking for you to engage with it, like it, love it, hate it, share it, do whatever you do. Please read it. We like you to read it so you know what's going on. And as you engage with those stories, it gets a higher score for the next day. We pull the stories about 5 in the morning Central Time and then create this thing that goes live around 5:35, 5:40 every single morning Central Time. We look at the top 15 stories in range. Yesterday we had 29 distinct news story postings, and we take the top 15 stories and we pull from them the 5 that we believe are the most conversational and tell the best narratives, things that you might not have heard and things that actually flow fairly well. If we're doing well, let us know. If we're not, let us know. All feedback is encouraged and taken, some with a grain of salt, though. And that's how you can be a part of the whole thing. Oh, we also had a teaser song at the beginning. That sounded weird, didn't it? The song for the day is Hooch by Everything, as in who's got it? Who's got the hooch? Who's got the love and friendship? That song that's the earworm that you will never get out of your head until around lunchtime. And then I'll try some way to put it back in there. That has been things you might not have heard from Thursday, February the 17th. 2022. My name is Jay Cleveland Payne. Thank you so much for being a part of this broadcast. If you love it, just give us a thumbs up. If you love it, make sure you're giving us a thumbs up. If you love it, make sure you're giving us a thumbs up. Things in threes. Also, if you're watching this on Facebook, make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss out when things go live on Facebook. Share it with other friends as well so that we can get more people in the conversation, as we like to say. With that, we're going to do this thing on Friday. On Fridays, we are doing a special where we promote this to also my main Facebook pages. So we'll have special guests popping in for tomorrow. So we'll do it extra special tomorrow. If you want the extra special, we'll see you tomorrow.